Hello, everyone. Love this stage, so thank you very much to the Misk Foundation. I spoke in 31 countries. I've never seen this beautifulness, as we would say in French, I guess. So maybe I'm going to run for political office just after that. It's my first test. Maybe not in Saudi. I don't speak the language, so maybe when I get back to France. I spoke a lot last few years on employee engagement. But many young people say, oh, we engage enough. No, you're not. I've been speaking a lot on storytelling, and sometimes CEOs, it's okay, my story is strong enough, I don't need to reframe it. Young people need to be more engaged. CEOs, all of them, need to reframe their stories. Maybe, just maybe, what's at the core, the commonality, is authenticity. So let's back up for a minute, right? We've got 11 minutes to talk about this subject. There's one big advantage, one big reward of not being authentic, not being genuine, of keeping your mask on. What is it? What is the main advantage of not being yourself? What is it? You're going to be loved by everyone else because you don't stand out. We need to transcend the fear to be yourself. I know, I was there yesterday, there's a lot of finance people in the room. I was myself a finance guy decades ago. Let's talk about the opportunity cost, the cost of inaction if you don't become yourself. What is it? What is it going to cost you? Have you heard of a woman called Bronnie Ware, Australian nurse, and for 10 years she worked with terminally ill patients. Rich or poor, doesn't matter. What she found out is that most of them, I think it's 92%, didn't fulfill their life at the end. They didn't live the life they were supposed to. They were on autopilot. So this is the cost of not being yourself. It's going to be a silent killer. And it's okay to die. I'm okay. If I die tomorrow, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now, here in Riyadh, doing this event. I've done my part in the world. Hopefully, I've got 20, 30, 40 more years, but I'm okay. What's sad, if you let something die within yourself while you're alive. So it's a privilege, right, to be alive, Let's get that straight. And we need to do a little bit of research on ourselves. Everyone wants to go to the best business school, graduate school. You know what's the alternative? Study yourself. 100 hours, that's it. Exercise on personality. Ask who you are. Where is your fire? As the Indian American said, the Hollander. Where do you really live? Where do you thrive? There's a simple exercise I want you to do right now. You don't need to get up. You're not going to change seats. You can close your eyes, open your eyes. Think of 3 people that really, really matter to you. When you think of them, you feel a sense of a purpose, of feeling good. Think of the first group within your family member, right? Your mom, your dad, your cousin, whatever. Think of someone that brings the best out of you. Give one adjective to that person. Second group, your friends and connection. Same exercise. Find one person, give one adjective. Third group, maybe a public persona. Someone like Halima, who's going to come in 8 minutes on stage with me. Someone that when you read about them, when you see them on the web, there's something that resonates within you. You don't know why. What are all the adjectives that comes out? What is the essence? What is the substantifique moelle? It's a French word to say the core of those persons. This is your compass. Please, especially all the young people, don't choose a career and be super ambitious in something you're not made for. Study yourself first. It's a waste of time if you go to the top of the ladder, which is the wrong ladder. Like many guys my age or women, they're 45, wrong ladder. They work so hard, the top of the food chain, not supposed to be there. There's 3 stories I would like to share with you. 2 of them are from this region. All of them I've worked with. In the middle, Reshma Sojani, born and raised in the US, top investment banker, lawyer. At some point, it was not enough. She had a calling to do something else. She was running for political office. She failed. But in the midst of that, she found a calling. She created one of the best organizations in the world to bring the gender technology gap up to speed. She created Girls Who Code. Check it out. A TED Talk is fabulous. 2 people from Saudi I had worked with. Abdullah Elias, co-founder of Careem. 15 years ago, he was still in Germany, born and raised there. Things were well. He was a social entrepreneur. It was sort of easy, smart guy, things are happening for him. He had a calling to come back to the region. He didn't feel authentic in Germany. Came back to Saudi, get a couple of friends together, create a first taxi startup, got bought by Careem, become one of the co-founders. And with his 2 co-founders, he created the whole ecosystem of tech in Saudi. Khalid Al-Qudair created Glowwork. I'm sure many of you know this organization in Saudi. A few years ago, big women empowerment organization. Same thing, story. Top American university or Canadian university, went to work for top consulting company. I think he was almost a partner by the age of 28, and he had the hint of becoming an entrepreneur. He's like, let's try, let's go for it. No one in his family was an entrepreneur, and they were all in Canada. He had no network like Abdullah in Saudi. Came back and started Glowwork, very successful. Ended up being one of the top guys at Riyadh Bank, and now he has one of the top sports and entertainment startups in Saudi. I did it myself, the same thing. I change and change and change again until the real self, my real self, shows up. I want to expose myself, take off my mask, see who I am, and I want you to see me thoroughly, no matter how many change it will take. I'm going to talk about briefly 5 change. I'm 23 years old. After a finance degree, I decided to move to Japan. I have a love for Japan. And I work for Cartier. Things are great. Great social life, great job. Everything is good. I want to be an artist. It's just, I don't come from an artistic family. Same thing. I decided to stop everything. I got enough savings to go to LA. 1 year after I don't have any more money, I became a waiter like everyone else in LA. After 6 months, I get commercial, and I'm the part of the scene. I become a writer, a director, comedian, do a lot of jobs. Same thing, after 7 years, my life is good. Something else. I want to be an entrepreneur now. I want to go to the tech world. 2 years later, I end up in Cape Town, and we co-created 88 MPH, which was a top tech accelerator in the region at the time. Fascinating time. One day, as we were working on some deal with some startup, a very wealthy man from Cape Town came, and he's like, I love your passion, I love your motivation, you've got a network in LA, let's start a movie studio together. Dream project. Oh, that's it, it's my calling. Great project, wrong guy. I took a gamble, I said no. All my friends thought I was nuts. I mean, the biggest opportunity of a lifetime doesn't feel right. Does not feel right. Went back to New York, not knowing what life would give me, not knowing what I would want to do. I ended up creating Stand Up for Passion, which became a global organization on storytelling. We went to 30 countries, working with thousands of people, exploring their stories, telling the world who they are like I'm doing now. Once again, after a few years, everything is good. I'm running my company from New York City. My dad, super sick, and I feel an emotional debt to him. 3 years ago, just before the pandemic, I go back to France, and I've been next to him as his Alzheimer's progress. Once again, I'm being authentic to myself. But thanks to all the connection and everything I've done in my life, we were able to create an education technology company on personal growth. We have an amazing team, and we are producing amazing videos on what is it to be well-being, employee engagement, so forth. As you see my story, and Abdullah, and Reshma, and Khalid, it's all about what we feel and we hear when no one else, right? We have to pass the judgment and just listen to that music, right? When the Davish Turner was starting their dance a few 100 years ago, no one believed in their dance. And then it became this sacred dance. I believe if you take 3-4 days off, no phones, no friends, no family, just you and yourself, no computer, mountain, desert, you're lucky to have amazing desert here, and just listen to what emerges inside of yourself. Something will come out, and you will find possibly alignment in who you are, how you act, and how you think. In short, and I'm done in 20 seconds, your goal, you have one mission. It's to find what we call la substantifique moelle, the core of the core, to answer the call to adventure. There was an expression created by Joseph Campbell, the great American writer. That's what Steve Jobs did. He answered his call. That's what Reshma, Khalid, Abdullah, and that's what I'm sure you're going to do next. Thank you so much, and this is my time. And I want to welcome on stage with me for 20 minutes passionate conversation, Halima. Hello.
Hello. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
In the name of God, the most merciful, the most gracious.
I'm feeling a little nervous, but alhamdulillah, I'm in beautiful Riyadh. I see some beautiful sisters already, so I'm feeling good. How are you?
Good. I'm feeling nervous being next to you too. So let's get on it. What should we speak? I want to hear your story.
Yeah.
How did it come about? Your entry in the fashion world, your desire for authenticity, to leave the fashion world at some point, because you're going to explain to all of us. Some of you don't know your story. Please start.
So for some of you guys who may not have heard my story, I think let's take it back to the beginning. So my parents are Somali. My mom grew up in this port city called Kismayo. Her family were fishermen. They were very nomadic people. And then the Somali Civil War broke out around 1994, and she quickly, overnight, found herself displaced. And so I was born in this place called Kakuma. And if you don't know, that's in northwestern Kenya. It is one of the largest refugee camps in the world. As of today, it houses nearly 200,000 refugees. And so, yeah, I grew up in this beautiful place with over 14, refugees from over 14 countries in Africa. And so, as you can imagine, the camp being predominantly women and children, it was still a very nurturing environment. And so I always say, alhamdulillah, that is where my story needed to begin. Although it was very challenging, it made me who I am today. It made me resilient. And so those are attributes and assets that I'm very blessed to have because of my childhood.
So what sort of little girl is... What sort of little girl were you? Did you know you had this destiny, or were you predestined with something?
I was a very confident kid. You know, I had a lot of friends. I spoke 2 languages, fluent Somali, Swahili, because it was Kenya. And I had so many moms. You know, I had like 20 moms. It felt like I was getting in trouble every other second. And so, alhamdulillah, you know, it was a very nurturing environment. The difficulties was it's still a refugee camp, and so we had, especially me, I had bouts of malaria, food insecurity. Even after I left the camp for about, you know, the first 16 years of my life, I was always very, very underweight and malnourished just because of my childhood and having food rations and long lines just for clean water. And so it was very humbling, but my mom, to this day, reminds me of the camp, and she reminds me, Halima, we had the $1 billion lottery out of Kenya. So I don't know if you guys know about the whole process for refugees to migrate to a country like America, but you know, it's only 1% of refugees that get to resettle to a developed country. 99% of refugees either stay in the camps or they get sent back to their native countries. But it is very rare for a story like mine, for a child to migrate to America and start fresh. And so that weighs heavily on my shoulders. And my mom always said, education is the way to pay it forward. Education is the way to help others who are still in the camps and stuff. And so you can imagine where the conflict started when I did end up modeling as a profession.
How old were you? What happened? What was the story there?
Well, I didn't pursue modeling. Fashion came to me. You know, I was 19 years old. I wanted to compete for Miss Minnesota USA, only to show my little sisters in Minnesota that they too could be beautiful, wear the hijab, wear a modest swimsuit, and still share the stage with other women from our state. I just wasn't prepared for it to go international. And so the day that I competed for the pageant, I'm nervous because it's really my first time walking in heels. And you know, I've never been on a stage like that ever in my life. And then Fox News was there, Huffington Post flew a producer to come film me, BBC World News picked up the story, and so November 26, 2016, the pageant happened. That following Monday, Rihanna's team DM'd me on Instagram saying, you know, Rihanna's shooting Fenty Beauty. At the time, nobody knew this. And so I actually flew to LA that following Tuesday, shot for her Fenty Beauty first ad campaign. That following Wednesday, I was on a plane to New York City. I, you know, shot for Corinne Rawfield, who, you know, you're French, Arnaud, so you know Corinne Rawfield, right?
Yes. I'm not in the fashion world at all.
Used to be, though.
Long time ago.
So yeah, she shot me for her magazine, originally just thinking it was going to be a snippet, and then she chose my picture for the cover of CR Fashion Book, and then that same week on Friday, I was in a meeting with IMG Models, and I don't know if you guys know, but they're the top modeling agency in the world, so all of that in the span of a week and a half.
Oh my God. And she stayed to this day true to your heart. So I've been, you know, doing a lot of digging last few days on her Instagram. She keeps speaking of your roots, of your family, of your mom. She's all over the place, right? And you were telling me in your culture it's so important, right? The mom, the parents. Tell me how important it is. Because, and let me give you some context, because some people would think, I'll go to the fashion world or any kind of world and I might, you know, step away from my family, which was not your case at all. How close were they, or how much they help you? What was their support like?
My family like my mom does not play about me. You know, she's the reason why I have this confidence and the values that I have, and I stand up for myself. But she's always pushed me not to just rely on physical beauty, for example, but to really show people what's inside my head. And so education, I had two options, be a teacher or be a doctor. And I was 19 and I was thinking, you know, here's a career that could potentially change not just my life, not just my family's life, but an entire community of young Muslim hijab-wearing girls, just to see that if Halima could wear a hijab on the cover of Vogue magazine and be on the runway, they too can do it. You know, they too can do it. And that's really why I'm here in Saudi Arabia, is to support my little sisters to never conform. Always be proud of your roots, your family, and where you came from.
Do you have any advice for young people here that might want to pursue something which seems out of reach, like you did? Anything, could be fashion, entrepreneurship, or finance, if they don't have any finance people in their family. What advice, where should they start?
I would say don't wait for the perfect opportunity. The opportunity is now, so seize the moment. That's like the biggest advice I would give. And also put yourself out there. You never know what little action you take could lead to everlasting change. You know, you never know what trajectory your life is going to take. So have pure intentions, go in with a clean heart. And then my other biggest takeaway, if you know anything about me, you know I'm always willing to walk away. To this day, I am always ready to exit stage left if I feel like my values are being compromised. And I did. I walked away from fashion. Who walks away from the kind of career that I had as a high fashion model?
So take us there, because they might not know. So you were having a global fashion career as a model, and then you left it all. Tell us why, what happened exactly?
It was simple. The reason why I left is my mom said, Halima, it's not about you. You know, she's like, I know you can take care of yourself. I'm the same girl that at 19, I had IMG put in a hijab clause in my contract, that I would have a private dressing space, that I would never travel without a woman by my side. And even then, I thought, because like I shared in the beginning, I was so naive and privileged because of my hijab. Let's not get that confused. It was my hijab that made me different, you know? And so high fashion at the time, they never had a modest woman like me. And so I thought my safety and my experience was the same across the board, and that all models get treated with respect and they have their boundaries respected. And then I started seeing fellow hijab-wearing models enter the scene, and I was so proud. Like, I was running to my mom like, see, because for a long time she was like, why isn't my daughter doing this? She's like, do you see anybody else's daughter doing these things? And so I would like run home and show her like, Mom, look, it's another girl who wears the hijab. And then I was on the cover of Vogue Arabia with 2 other hijabis. It was the first group shot with all Muslim hijab-wearing models. And even then, she would always challenge me like, whatever happens to a girl in this industry who followed your footsteps, whatever happens to her, Yom Qiyamah, Day of Judgment, you too will be questioned for that. And so at 22, 21, I'm shaking like, oh my God, like I have such a huge responsibility, and that it's not just about what happens to me, but the safety and security and comfortability of all the fellow hijab-wearing models that would enter this industry. So I was on a shoot one day, and of course, I had my private dressing space, and the other girl who was wearing a hijab, they told her to go find a bathroom to change in if she didn't want to change in front of everybody. Because, you know, you kind of know the industry, private dressing space at the time was not something, they're doing better now, but at the time, it wasn't always the case.
Thank you. Something that comes to me, maybe for those people in the room who need, or I know some people in France and who need, is it possible to rent your mom for like a few days, a few weeks? Because I want a mom like this, even at my age, right? I want a mom like this.
No, mothers are our backbone, you know? Our mothers, especially in our religion in Islam, it literally goes, our beloved Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and then it goes to your mother, your mother, your mother, and then your father. Look at how high. So my mom is my queen. She says, leave, I leave. She says, stop, I stop. She says, go, I go. Like, I do not play when it comes to my mom.
She's actually listening right now, right? Thank you. How do you protect yourself from the pressure of the job? Because you're slightly coming back on your own term, right? I believe, a little bit in fashion, right? So how did you deal then with the pressure, or the pressure now of your activism, or the negativity probably online sometimes happen? How you keep yourself grounded? So you get your mom. What else you do as a mental resilience sort of a training program maybe you have?
Well, the beautiful thing about my mom is, like, I remember I would come home and I would tell her about all the cool people I met, and she'd be like, just make sure the dishes are washed, okay? So she is very, even to this day, like when I made my first big paycheck, I begged her. I said, Mom, like, I want to buy you a house. And you know what she told me? She said, take that money and donate to open a mosque. You know,
Wow.
That's where her heart is. She's never once taken anything from me, even though I beg and plead. And the one thing she asks me is, show the world just how beautiful our religion and the hijab is, but do it in a way that's putting self-respect and dignity at the forefront.
I think you're doing really wonderful. You're doing fine, okay? What is authenticity for you?
Well, I've been talking a lot, and this is a conversation, so I'm going to bounce it back to you. I heard, okay, so a little backstory. We had the pleasure of actually having a conversation yesterday, and we talked a lot about happiness. And, you know, I want to be very transparent and honest, especially to my sisters, that, you know, sometimes it's not always easy, is it, to find happiness, you know? So what could you give us in terms of the pursuit of happiness? Is it something that we attain? Is it something that we go and seek? Is it something that comes naturally to us?
Oh, now I'm being interviewed by you. Wow.
Now it's your turn.
I love it. Oh my God. To give some context, it's sort of what I've done for the last 10 years. So next to authenticity, storytelling, I've studied and worked and trained and coached on happiness at work a lot, and happiness. And for me, it's the consequence of doing what's important for you, right? Because happiness means so many things to so many people. 3 pursuits that worth, I think, our time is joy still. What makes you joyful? What create moment where you feel what we call the flow, where everything is fluid. Second thing is your purpose, right? You have a clear purpose. What is your purpose? Why are you in this planet for? No matter what it takes to gonna bring your purpose to life. And then it's really connecting to others and yourself permanently. For me, it's a muscle, happiness, right? So you don't go to the gym, you lose muscles. Same thing for happiness. You don't do your, like probably many of you, I do a gratitude mantra every morning, right? So I was thinking of you, of the stage today, of Misk, of course, of Saudi this morning, gratitude for everything I'm going to do next week, the week after, but what I've done also 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago. And the 20 people that makes my life happy right now in my life. Some are family, some are new people, right? So be really grateful for everything happened to you now. And pursue your passion no matter what. I see a lot of people who going after their work like crazy, and they forget the passion on the side. It's okay not to have your passion as a work. It's okay. Because so many young people, they come to me and they say, I'm not sure how to make my passion my work. It's okay. You were fortunate enough. I was fortunate. We work hard on it. not everybody, but what you can all do, what we can all do is to bring purpose in what you do, right? So make sense of what you do. That's what I will answer to you in happiness. And then I like the quote I put on my side, right? Gandhi, it's when what you do, what you are, and when your thoughts are aligned. You think you are the right place. Like right now, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Nothing else matters in the world. And the more you can have moments like this and be grateful and share those moments, like you say, you're sharing a lot on social network or any way you can share, you don't know who else is on your board, who else wants to work with you to be part of your ecosystem, your team, and you don't know who you're going to inspire, which is today I'm sure you're inspiring so many young women, men, probably older men as well, anyone. And you're inspiring me, right? Young woman, but it's giving me ideas, resilience, even more. So you never know who you're going to inspire. That's what I would have to say. Thank you. Let's go back to you, or we can keep doing. I like it. It's very fluid.
I love it. Everything you're saying, I'm just like taking notes.
Okay. Do you want a pen? No.
No, but I think, like, especially for you, I guess, Arnaud, what's like the marker where you could say, because you've traveled the world, you've met communities from across the globe, what is it that differentiates one community from another in terms of happiness in general? Because I'll give you an example, right?
I can answer.
The loneliest I've ever felt in my entire life was when I was modeling. When I was at the height of my career in fashion, I was very, very lonely. And I think I realized it was the community around me and the fact that I went from Kakuma refugee camp, a large population of women and babies everywhere, and constantly being amongst a group, and moving from there and then relocating to Minnesota, where there is the largest Somali diaspora community, constantly being around the mosque, around schools, around friends, around a building full of other Somali refugees, constantly being in the midst of community and people that you could relate to, people that you could break bread with. And then all of a sudden to traveling the world, but it's very much a career that's solo dolo, and you're like, you meet people, but at the end of the day, you don't really have a set community that you return to every single day or week. And so is that fascinating to you, that you could have it all in terms of financials, fame, recognition, and that doesn't contribute to happiness?
Yes. Thank you for the question. And I'll answer briefly because they told me it's our time to go, but I'm going to answer that fascinating question. I spent 9 years in New York. I grew up in Paris, two of the most, lovely place, or not lovely place, but everyone I meet around the world, oh my God, you lived in Paris? You went. The loneliest people, the most lonely, the most unhappy people I met were in Paris and New York, right? True, right? Especially true. It is the most happy people I found. Ecuador, when I worked with a tribe, I did some work with the UNHCR with refugees.
Refugees are lit. We know how to have a good time.
Yes, it's because you know what's at stake. You know the value of life. I was in Sao Paulo doing a keynote on happiness 2 weeks ago. Dangerous city, right? Very dangerous, yes. When we get out of the restaurant, I don't know if I'm going to get kidnapped 2 blocks away. Yet, I love those people. I could live there. Same thing in the Middle East, actually. Every time I come, there's this generosity of people, this warmth of people, so there is certainly a country where there's a warmth which is their metrics, their KPI. And it's not probably the KPI of Paris or New York, I would have to say, and finish on that because it's about that time. Thank you very much, Halima. Thank you. Oh, and I brought 2 books in French. I can give it away for those of you that speak French. Thank you.